Hello class. Today we're going to kick off another new unit. This one is going to be on the legislative branch of our American government. So as you know, in Article 1 of our Constitution, it outlines the powers and the capabilities of the legislative branch. As you recall, in the Constitutional Convention, there was much discussion and debate that led to what was called the Great Compromise. And what that meant was the big states and the small states couldn't decide on what type of legislature. So the compromise was a two-house or bicameral legislature. One house, the Senate, is the same for every state. No matter if you have 30 million residents or 500,000, you get 2 senators. Each state has the same amount of clout. However, this would anger the large states, so they also have a second house in Congress called the House of Representatives. That part is based on population. For example, Michigan can send 14, whereas California 53 to that house. Or if you're in a small state like Wyoming, you can send only 1. So there, big states have much more power in the House of Representatives. And the key is a law has to pass both houses. So once it passes in the House or the Senate, then it goes to the other side to pass there. So this is the process that was created back when we founded our Constitution. Let's take a look then at sessions of Congress. It's a regular period, and we're on the 116th or 17th Congress. It runs for 2 years. The President can call them into session if necessary, and occasionally does for a special session. Many other countries have also adopted a bicameral House of Representatives and a Senate, or different names for them, but it became a popular way. Here is the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., where the Congress does debate and vote. The Constitution outlines the size and the terms of both the House and the Senate. The exact size of the House, of course, is at 435 currently. That was set by Congress. It could change, but it hasn't for, I think, since the 1920s or 30s. So it should stay the same. So those 435 get redistributed every 10 years based on a population census. So Michigan has lost a couple representatives over the last several years due to population decline, and more popular states have added legislatures based on their population increases. So that's the House of Representatives. Remember, 2 houses. These have only a 2-year term. Only 2 years, so basically once they get elected, they almost immediately have to go back into election mode and campaign mode and fundraising mode. And the idea was that they have to come back home a lot and meet with their people. We already talked about reapportionment. Reapportionment means every 10 years, based on census, deciding if states should get more or less representation in the House of Representatives. The apportionment currently, as I said, this is a little dated. We have 14, we lost 1. So then you have to redraw the lines for each district in your state. Some states only have their entire state as 1 district. Some of the less populated states, as you see, such as North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, they're only entitled to 1 member, whereas they each get 2 senators, if you recall. So keep that in mind. Today, due to population, Michigan's 15 will now be reduced to 14, as I mentioned several times, due to the 2010 census. Now they can do, now that there are changes, you need to create new voting districts, and your state legislature, in this case Lansing, they're the ones that get to decide where those district lines are drawn. And each district then, in a case of Michigan, 14 districts, they get to pick one representative to go to Congress. In our case, most of you live in either the 2nd or the 3rd congressional district, which means that currently Bill Huizenga or Justin Amash are representing you in the United States House of Representatives. There is another vocab term here called gerrymandering. That's a term that came popular years ago when the House of Representatives, the local legislature would redraw the districts in such a way as to favor their party. And currently the Republican Party controls the Lansing, so they would redraw the districts in such a way, hopefully, that they could gain as many Republican congressmen as possible. And we can maybe do a lesson on that on the board in just a minute. Congressional elections are held in November, the first Tuesday after a Monday, that's in November. An off-year election, as you know, is when there's no president on the ballot. In order to run for the House, you have to be at least 25 years old. According to the Constitution, you must be a citizen for at least 7 years and inhabit the state in which you are running. But those are not very many requirements. However, in reality, there are a lot of unwritten rules. You have to look good on television. You have to be able to make a lot of money. You have to work your way up through the party. Remember, we are a two-party system. You have to have a political experience. There's many things that you have to have in order to win a seat in Congress. So just because you meet the minimum requirements doesn't mean that you will become. Even very young people have made it, like Aaron Schock, and there's even very old people that win year after year after year in the House of Representatives. The other house is called the Senate. Now in the Senate, as we mentioned earlier, there's 2 from every state. Your entire state covers, there's no districts, but your whole state gets to pick 2. They used to be chosen by your state legislature, the people in Lansing, but because of the 17th Amendment, which passed in 1912, senators are now directly elected by the population of the state. And the senators have a much longer term, 6 years they get in each time they're elected. So much longer than the House, and there's only 100 of them too, so there's much more debate and other things that happen in the Senate. The requirements are also higher. The Constitution says you have to be 30 or older, and longer, 9 years citizen, and of course be in the state in which you were elected. So many people would say that the Congress is made mostly of older, white men. However, there has been some changes. There are a few women. There are some people of color. And slowly on, the makeup of the Congress has been changing. For example, in 2008, there was only 1 black person in the whole Senate. And as you probably guessed, that 1 black person became president. So the 1 black senator, interestingly enough, was Barack Hussein Obama. So the representatives then vote as 4 ways. 1, as a trustee, and this is, as Christians, we prefer that they look at each issue from their own moral and Christian view. Many of the representatives are Christian in one degree or another. Others view their voting as a delegate, just representing what the people want. Others view that they should vote according to their party. So if the leaders of their party say vote this way or that way, they have to do it. And others mix all three together in political. So give some thought to that and how you would prefer them to vote. Members of Congress operate as servants, and that's biblical, that those in authority serve, just as Jesus gave the example of service to the apostles. These also work in serving you as a member, and they also take care of many different requests. They also have oversight and authority over many parts of the government. They do get compensated quite well, including franking privileges and immune to arrest for many different offenses, as long as they're conducting official business. So we'll go over some more details in class, but that should get you started on Chapter 10. Make sure you read all of Chapter 10 carefully in preparation for the activities in class.